the third G20 Tourism Working Group meeting at the beautiful location of Srinagar. Today we have with us in the press briefing Union Minister for Tourism, Culture and Donaire, Shri G. Kishan Reddy, Union Minister of State, Independent Charge for Ministry of Science and Technology, MOS, PMO, Personnel, Public Grievances, Pensions, Atomic Energy and Space, Dr. Jitendra Singh, G20 Sherpa Shri Amitabh Kant, G20 Chief Coordinator Shri Harshvardhan Shingla, and Secretary Information and Broadcasting, Government of India, Shri Apurva Chandra. I welcome you all, sirs. So today we began our meeting with a side event on film tourism. We also have several other interesting events lined up in the coming 2 days. So we will be giving you more details about that. But before we start, I would like to invite G20 Sherpa, Shri Amitabh Kant, sir, to give us a perspective on G20, its goals and objectives, and its significance for a country like India. After which, I would like to invite the Honorable Ministers for their remarks. So, Amitabh, sir, over to you.
Thank you very much. Distinguished journalists and media personalities, we are truly delighted to welcome you to Kashmir. India is hosting the G20 presidency at a point of time when there's a lot of global turbulence. The post-COVID era has seen a vast segment of people go below poverty line. It has seen a lot of people lose their jobs. 1/3 of the world is under inflation. 75 countries of the world are facing a global debt crisis. There's a huge challenge of climate action and climate finance. In the midst of all these crises, India sees G20 as an opportunity. And as our Honorable Prime Minister has said, that India's G20 presidency will be inclusive, will be very decisive, and will be action-oriented. A G20 presidency is largely dependent, to my mind, on three things. Firstly, the political and the development narrative which we set out as the leader of G20 this year, number one. Number two, what are our priorities for G20? And number three is, how do we execute the G20? And let me dwell a little bit on all three of them. First and foremost, in India's case, the G20 is being held at a time when there are 4 emerging markets, one after another, who will hold the G20 presidency. Last year was Indonesia, this year is India, next year will be Brazil, and after that will be South Africa. So 4 emerging markets, one after another, holding G20 presidency. Secondly, the leader of G20 is the Prime Minister, Mr. Modi. He is a democratically elected Prime Minister for the second time, whose credit rating is still at record high level. And secondly is the development narrative. And the development narrative is that we are the 5th largest economy. We are growing at very high rates of about close to 7%. During the last 7-8 years, we've done some remarkable work in development. We've done a huge amount of digital transformation. We do about 11x fast payment, real-time fast payments on mobiles, 11x of what America and Europe does. We do 4x of what China does. We've built about 40 million houses. 40 million houses is like building a house for every single Australian. That's like making a complete Australia. We've provided toilet connection to over about 110 million Indians, which is like providing toilet connection to every single person living in Germany. And we provided piped water connection to 243 million Indians, which is like providing a water connection to every single person in Brazil. During the COVID period, we've done about close to 2.5 billion COVID vaccination, which is about 6x the population of United States and Europe together, which was totally paperless, cashless, digital, all digital work. And we've done 55,000 kilometers of road. 55,000 kilometers of road is like making 1.5 times the diameter of the earth. That is the kind of development work which India has done. The second is, what are our priorities for G20? The first is to do very inclusive, resilient, sustainable growth for the global economy. If there is growth, we'll be able to lift people above poverty line. We'll be able to provide better education, better health, and therefore inclusive, resilient, sustainable growth is a major priority. The second is that the sustainable development goals have been impacted because of COVID, and therefore we need to accelerate the pace of sustainable development goals which were to be achieved by 2030. Instead of moving forward, we have regressed, and therefore we'll accelerate the pace of that. And thirdly, our priority is climate action and climate finance. And simply because the earth may survive, we as human beings will go extinct, and therefore our focus will be on climate action, and also the flow of resources which have to happen from the developed part of the world and from multilateral institutions. And fourthly, because resources have to flow in, many of the multilateral financing institutions which were made in the post-World War II Bretton Woods period have outlived their utility, and therefore you need to transform multilateral financial institutions and ensure that resources flow to emerging markets. Also, our priority is digital transformation and digital public infrastructure, which is very important. And lastly, the Prime Minister's priority of women-led development. Because 50% of the world is women, how do you provide better education, better health, better nutrition, and put them into leadership positions? So those are our key priorities. And let me dwell on our presidency, how we are executing it. Unlike other countries which do G20 presidencies in their capital or one or two cities, India thought of making this G20, as our Prime Minister felt that it should be a people's presidency. And we take it out to all the states of India. So India is bigger than 25 countries of Europe in size and scale. So we are hosting this G20 in 60 cities of India. Over 215 meetings in 60 cities of India. This is unparalleled and has never been done before. And let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, that we've done almost about 115 meetings of G20 already, and we've had a very good response from the people of India. We've had a very good response from all the G20 countries and the invitee countries and all the international organizations. So the meeting which is being held in Kashmir is very, very important for us, because we believe in peace, we believe in progress, we believe in prosperity. We also believe that tourism is a major driver of growth, and that it is a very major driver of job creation. And that film tourism here, which was the subject of today's side discussion, will be a very major area of growth for Kashmir in the years to come. And therefore, ladies and gentlemen, with these few words, I'll conclude, and I'll request the Honorable Ministers to dwell on this. But this is a broad perspective of what India has done so far under G20.
Thank you very much, sir, for your interesting overview. Moving ahead with our press conference, I would like to invite Dr. Jitendra Singh for his remarks now.
Thank you. At the outset, I must thank Prime Minister Modi for having chosen Srinagar and Jammu and Kashmir for one of the 60 venues where these G20 events are being held. And I also must appreciate our friend, Minister for Tourism, Shri Kishan Reddy ji and his team for having very diligently, meticulously planned this event. A few words about what it means to have it in Srinagar, and then 2 words about what it means to dedicate today's deliberations to film tourism while we hold this event in Srinagar. Now, I think my first thought is that the very fact that we are holding it in Srinagar, in Jammu and Kashmir, is itself an achievement of sorts. The content of it comes later. And I'm sure the delegates coming from other places would be able to falsify the kind of perception and narrative which is sought to be created either by certain vested interests on the one hand, or some other self-styled cynics, critics, or self-righteous commentators. You've seen for yourself, and this is an opportunity for you to see with your own eyes what it's all about. Jammu Kashmir has moved on. the common man has moved on. And I would say the common man walking on the streets of Srinagar wants to be a part of the development journey led by Prime Minister Modi. He's seen two generations of Kashmiris being sacrificed at the altar of Pak-sponsored terrorism. He's no longer in a mood to succumb to that. And let's not forget, and we owe it also, that the youth of Kashmir is highly aspirational. Sometimes I tend to think that the Kashmiri youth, the youth of Jammu and Kashmir, sometimes is much more aspirational than his counterparts in the rest of the countries. I have an opportunity to travel across 2-3 states of the country every week. The youth here is more aspirational, highly forward-looking, also well-informed, and therefore he can see the enormous avenues unfolding across the country under the leadership of Prime Minister Modi in the last 9 years. He doesn't want to miss the bus. Amitabh was just now referring to, we are now startup number 3 in the world. It's not a small achievement. We just had about 300 startups when we started in 2014. Today we are close to 1 lakh. We have crossed 97,000. We are 115 unicorns, out of which almost 60 unicorns have a founder or co-founder as a woman. In Global Innovation Index, we were standing at 81. We have jumped 41 steps up. We are now 40. And I think more than any youth anywhere else, it is the youth in Jammu and Kashmir who is awakened to this fact. We are now a part of a global journey and he doesn't wish to miss it. I think it's very evident before all of you. I, like many of you, have been a frequent visitor here, have been part of this soil. Whenever there was an event like this or a leader coming from Delhi, you had a hartal call being made from Islamabad and shops being shut down in Lal Chowk or Residency. You don't have that kind of a scenario today. That itself speaks of the transformation that has happened. And the G20 event, let's not forget, is being carried out in the same format as it is being carried out in the other 60 locations. You have the same program rolled out. There's no compromise at all. Like, for example, tomorrow we begin the official program. We have an inaugural ceremony, which is followed by working sessions, which is followed by bilateral meetings, which are followed by interactive sessions. Today we had side events, which were dedicated to film tourism, to the Paradise Zone, and now we have a cultural program, the banquet. What more is left? This absolutely, because I've been part of the G20 events, even other places, as a part of the anti-corruption working group in Gurugram, etc. The very fact that it is happening in the same format and the same scale over here as elsewhere itself speaks of the mainstream activity happening in Jammu and Kashmir. And therefore, I think it's in the interest of all of us, and maybe in the interest of the integrity of profession and integrity of the tasks assigned to us, that all of us who are attending this meeting will go back home and tell our natives what it is actually like. We are a part of the global world. If we have to move on, if we have to grow, our challenges are global, our concerns are global. It's none less than Prime Minister. You saw the film now, he gave us the mantra life. Life means life for environment. This is the Prime Minister who spoke in COP20 about climate concerns. We are also committed to net zero targets by 2070. So we have awakened up under Prime Minister Modi to accept the global challenges, to live up to the global benchmarks, and our growth has to be global. And Jammu Kashmir is very much a part of that. It's ready to move on to that. So that is one message. Second, as far as the film tourism being discussed over here this afternoon and across the evening, I think there could be no other better place across the world. When this panel discussion was going on, thankfully I was not part of the panel, but my stomach was aching to tell those panelists over there that today what is most important evolution in the film industry across the world is the universalization of films. Universalization of films has happened within India and then it's happening globally. For example, till 1950s, till 1960s, we had only 3 film industries mainly in India. That was Calcutta, Bombay, and Madras. Madras Tamil industry was known more for family dramas, AVM, LV Prasad, Gemini. Bombay was known for romantic. Calcutta was known for classics, Tagore, Sarat Chandra. Then Kerala came up as experimental filmmaking. And then, of course, the Kannada and Telugu. Today, there are universal themes happening across India. And since we are part of the global world, our lifestyles have become globally similar. We are so well connected, so well informed about each other. The themes are also global. The stories which are being produced today in India are actually not very much different from what you see in the Bollywood or in the Hollywood. It's no longer that here you have a heroine crying through the film and then, becoming a martyr. It's the same as it is in the Western movies. So that universalization of films is something which we need to showcase, and we need to tell the world that look here we are presenting to you a cost-effective location. Whether you are from Hollywood, whether you are from Bollywood, whether you are from Tollywood, whether you are from Collywood. Within a radius of 10 kilometers, you have plateaus, you have meadows, you have snow peaks, you have tulips, and you can just stay in one single hotel and shoot the entire film in themselves. I'm not talking in very philosophical terms as somebody or say, I'm not trying to draw on the sentimentality of Kashmir. I'm talking like a hardcore professional. Any hardcore financier of films will find it win-win situation here. And we have had heritage. I was amazed in the room when I said who was the first. I said the first film star recorded in the history of India was from Jammu and Kashmir. People went back up to Rajesh Khanna, but didn't they go that far? It was Kundarlal Sehgal, who was no. So we have a win-win relationship with the film industry. And now, of course, there's been a trail of it. And I'm sure the message will go that, look here, Kashmir is not only ready to be part of the global journey led by Prime Minister Modi at a time when the other heads of state are also looking up to Prime Minister Modi to take his cues, but Kashmir is also going to be the most profitable, most cost-effective, and most economically viable film destination in its totality and in its finality. In a press conference, I'm told you don't have to deliver a lecture.